Welcome back to the Perek Project. We live in a world that puts a lot of emphasis on being intelligent, on being strong, on being honorable. But have you ever stopped and thought, what does it actually mean to be wise, to be strong, to be wealthy, to be honorable? So we're going to explore what it actually means. But before we do that, let's look at who is actually telling us so we can see who is giving us this advice. So this Mishnah is written by Ben Zomer, and he himself was an extraordinarily wise person. And he starts by asking the question, who is wise? And what he's asking here is, when does a person become deserving of this title? When do we become deserving of being called clever or intelligent? He's telling us that in order for a person to earn that title, they have to internalize and integrate it within their personality. God gives us talents, but that on its own doesn't deserve any recognition. On the other hand, our effort deserves recognition, and we can take pride in our achievements when they are our achievements because of the efforts we have put in. So he tells us someone who's wise is someone who learns from every single person. Why? Because someone who truly values knowledge will seek it from everywhere. They won't feel that some people are beneath them. They will learn from anyone. Someone who has a thirst for knowledge is someone who is truly wise. And in fact, we call a wise person in Hebrew a Talmid Chacham, which literally means a student of wisdom, because no matter how accomplished they are, they're always a student. In fact, there's an amazing story that's told about a rabbi that was traveling, and someone stopped him. This was in Europe many hundreds of years ago, and said, "My wagon's turned over. Can you help me fix it?" And the rabbi said, "I'm really sorry, I can't." And the man was so annoyed with him, he said to him, "You can, you just don't want to." And the rabbi stopped and he thought to himself, wow, the fact that I had that message that you can, but you don't want to, was a message to me, because he understood this story to say that there's always things within us that we have to fix. And we often say, I don't want to, but we don't say I don't want to. We say, I can't, it's too hard, or not right now. And he understood what that random stranger had told him, you can, but you just don't want to, is the same for ourselves. That so often when we say we can't, what we're really saying is, I don't want to. Secondly, he asks, who is a strong person? The definition he gives is someone who conquers their personal inclination. Why? Because true strength is not how much weight we can lift. It's when one is in control of oneself. And I think we can all relate to it, that the hardest thing to do is to be in control of ourselves. Why? Because it's a lifelong battle. And often when we're trying to gain control of our spiritual self, what we're trying to gain control of will often pass itself off as our friend. To give a very simple analogy, if we're asked for help and we don't want to, we'll come up with so many righteous reasons why we can't. Oh, because right now it's not a good time, and you know what? My family will lose out. And sometimes our family will, but sometimes it's just an excuse. And that's why being in control of oneself and conquering our weaknesses is the hardest thing to do. And someone who's able to do that, that's a truly strong person. What's interesting to note is that he says, he who conquers, right? Not someone who breaks them totally, because there's a place for our passions and our drive. But we have to be in control of our passions and our drive. Thirdly, he asks, Who is rich? This is not someone who has a big bank account. It's someone who is happy with his lot. Because what good is it to have a lot of money if it doesn't provide someone with peace of mind and happiness? The well-known saying goes, if you don't have what you want what you have, and then you'll have what you want. And in fact, on a spiritual level, imagine there's a carpenter, and a carpenter has his saw. And a carpenter's saw is relatively inexpensive. And then he sees someone who is a diamond cutter, and he has that knife to cut diamonds, and that's a very expensive tool. And he wants that tool, and he gets that tool. But it's useless for him, because the same thing with us. We have to understand that we have exactly what we need. God gave us exactly what we need to fulfill our potential and our mission in this world. And wanting what we don't have or wanting what others have is not going to help us. And a person who's able to develop that mindset and is able to truly feel that I have exactly what I need, and whatever I don't have, I don't need, is someone who not only is happy in this world, but they earn themselves the world to come, because they use whatever God gives them by answering the question, what does God want me to do with it? And they use it for the good. And the fourth thing he asks is, who is honored? Now, this answer he gives is a little bit different than the other three. The first three, he's telling us that who is wise, who is strong, who is rich. He's giving us the answer of a person who works on themselves, and that is regardless of whether other people notice it or not. God knows it, and God will count that person as wise. God will count that person as strong. God will count themselves as rich. But here he's giving us some practical advice. Who is honored? Someone who gives respect and honor to others is someone who gains respect and honor from others. So here we see values that are such a part of our life, but how to truly understand and appreciate them is by understanding that we earn these values when we put the effort in to develop ourselves. Thank you for listening.